Chaos and outrage today in downtown LA with thousands of people protesting President Trump's threat of mass deportation.
The president's push for mass deportations has migrants deeply concerned on what is to come. Major cities like Chicago are anticipating massive immigration raids that could begin at any moment.
New at 6, the Trump administration has revoked a decision that would have protected roughly 600,000 Venezuelans from deportation. The move means some Venezuelans with TPS could be facing deportations as early as 2 months from now.
Since his first day back in office, Trump has signed a flurry of executive orders authorizing greater military force at the U.S.-Mexico border. The administration says it's going after violent criminal immigrants who are in the country illegally. But with nearly 1,000 deportations daily, many fear no one is safe.
Well, now we can see as to what's going on. The issue of what's going on today is that we're dealing with mass deportation and these new policies that are being put in place, and we have to take a minute to look into them and see if it is what the so-called media and even around our circles, sometimes the theme, regardless of the media, may seem that way. Is we hear that, oh, they're just deporting, and we think of our friends and our family members within the community and just people that we've developed relationships over time and overall seem to be good people.
And some, I assume, are good people.
And seem to try to strive for the American dream that many of us have, fought for and sought after as well. And we applaud that. However, we cannot ignore what is going on. What's the reason of these mass deportations? I'm sorry, it's hard to believe that this administration came in and they said, oh, okay, we're just going to go ahead and try to deport everyone because they're somewhat Hispanic. That's not the case, because if that's the case, I would like the same to be said, because the Hispanics during the Obama administration were saying the same thing.
Deportations have reached record levels under President Obama, rising to an annual average of nearly 400,000 since 2009. That's 30% higher than the annual average during Bush's second term. She says that's not good. Obama was supposed to do something to help, but instead of helping, he's doing the opposite.
But while the media portrayed it as he was, just a wonderful president, but in the Hispanic community, they portrayed him as deporter in chief, because he was the one that deported more illegal immigrants, but also from the Hispanic population, he deported more than any president in time, including Donald Trump.
Reviewing Homeland Security data, it turns out he's right. No matter which type of deportation we look at, whether it's people who were turned away at the border or people who were sent home after entering the country, or even people forcibly removed for breaking the law, the result is the same. President Obama did deport more people than President Trump did, and that's why the truth meter rates DeSantis' claim true.
So with that being said, I want to make sure that we don't just dive into making this a race issue or a political party issue, but I would like for us to evaluate what we're about to see here, because this does have to concern us at some level as to who are we letting into our country? Who are we letting into our neighborhoods? Who are we letting in to our community? Who are we letting in to our schools to be with our children? Who are we letting in to be at our workplaces? Who are we letting in to be around our loved ones, and therefore may put them at risk? And therefore that's when the government comes into play, and we have to see, are they doing something that is somewhat noble, or are we just doing things unlawfully and disorderly, or somehow in a discrimination sense? Now, keep in mind, what we're about to see is not pretty, but hey, sometimes it's cases of war. But let's take a look.
These are single adults who've been in the system for 30 days and have not been able to prove that they faced extenuating.
Man, New York City's asylum crisis continues to grow, and every single week thousands of people come here from the southern border looking for a place to stay. But since the city's shelters are full, the only way to house new people is to kick out the current people, which means that to solve homelessness, the city's gonna make tens of thousands of people homeless. What a plan.
With more than 65,000 migrants currently in the city shelter system, the city says it can no longer indefinitely house and feed these migrants. Neighbors say the influx of migrants is overwhelming.
It's unfair on them, it's unfair on us.
We've got trash, we've got the constant noise. I mean, it's like Times Square when you come out of your home.
The evictions today are part of a new policy that allow migrants to claim a shelter bed for only 30 or 60 days.
The advocates say they are very concerned that this will lead to an uptick in street homelessness.
We are connecting them to resources, and we are talking to them about what those next steps are.
There is so many people that with all the will in the world, we can't help them.
So after seeing that, we don't even have to get into the fact of the crime stats. We don't even have to look into that yet. Just by that alone, we're looking at a monetary issue, a supply and demand. The fact that the demand is way too much, and unfortunately, our country just doesn't have enough, and we don't have enough resources. That's the facade that a lot of us, especially in America, we seem to have this form of entitlement. It doesn't seem to go anywhere. It seems that it's just the American ideology that we just have unlimited resources that are never going to end, and we can just go ahead and might as well conquer and take over the entire world and feed everyone. That's not the case. Every country has its limited resources, limited in gold, limited in food, limited in oil, limited in materials, limited in any form of resource. They're all limited. And so we have to take into account how many people the country can sustain before it collapses, and therefore we are no longer America. So we have to take a look at that, and that is want to go ahead and add those points in there. That is a biblical perspective. Does a king not count the cost before he goes to war? That's Jesus's words, meaning someone that's wise is going to go ahead and make a plan and come up with the logistics and the understanding and the means as to when they go to war, how they go to war, so therefore the king can win. And the king isn't winning for his own glory, well, at least we hope not, but the king is going out there to fight for his people, and so therefore the people can still have a place to call home, a kingdom to rely on, a kingdom, a nation to come back to, and to be able to rest their head and raise their children and to feed their families. And we're looking to the leadership to be able to help us in accomplish those things. But if all we do is demonize the leadership because of their actions without dissecting and without looking into the means and reasons for those actions, then I think that's a little bit foolish on our part and for any person. And that's the whole reason why, we're looking into it now. Is deportation wrong? Well, from just the standpoint of the monetary side, it doesn't seem like we have too many resources, but let's now dive in and look into the criminality side of things. But before we do so, let's look at just a quick logical point from a good funny skit.
You just think that anyone can come to the U.S.? Absolutely. If you go to New York, go to the Statue of Liberty, what's it say? All is welcome. I don't think it says that, but dude, this is great because I just happened to pick up 3 guys from Honduras. They were at Home Depot. They're from Honduras and they have nowhere to go. So this just works out perfect. Look, Hector takes medication twice a day, and right now they got to use the bathroom. All 3 of them. Is it cool they stay here? Why not? What do you mean? All right, so they can't stay here then? It's cool if they come to the country, just not your house. Come on. Hypocrite. Let's go, guys. Let's go. Sorry, man. Hypocrite.
I'm sorry, man. That clip cracks me up every time. And it hits it right on the head. Everyone telling us to be humane, and especially as a Christian, open your doors, feed the poor, help those that are in need. I get it. I truly do. I know it's hard because I'm laughing right now, but anyways, let's actually now connect that skit real quick into an actual, not skit, but a situation that did occur, and that was when this mass migration started to come through our southern borders, and a few of our governors, Governor Abbott from Texas, started to do something about it. And agree with it or not, let's take a look.
Governor Abbott directed 2 buses carrying over 100 migrants directly to the gates of the Naval Observatory where Vice President Harris lives, taking to Twitter saying, "We will continue sending migrants to sanctuary cities like D.C. until President Biden and Border Czar Harris step up and do their jobs to secure the border."
It is un-Texan, un-American, and un-Christian to treat children and families as human cargo for political stunts.
Hold on. Pause. Run that back one more time.
and unchristian.
Let me double back to the gentleman's comment. He said that it's not right to use them as a spectacle and send them up. Well, you know what? Let's take it for what it is. Maybe it is a bit of a spectacle. Maybe it's a message, you know, it is. But it's not a message that's at the cost solely of the people. You see, because Governor Abbott can go ahead and choose to have just sent them right back to their countries. But he, in a way, respected the higher administration and gave the president and vice president what they wanted and said, well, here you go. You see, it's so easy to just say, oh, let them in. Well, while I'm governing a certain area and trying to take care of these people, and now you're just throwing them at me. No. Be responsible, and here you go. It goes back to the skit with the other guy. I mean, the other guy, what he do? It's like, all is welcome. I mean, it's not what the Statue of Liberty says, but the fact is that you're bringing them in. So here you go. And it's just a fact. It's sad, but it's a fact. You know, if I'm over here, you know, telling you that, oh yeah, you know, I want to feed everyone. And then here I am about to eat a sandwich and there's, you know, 5 kids in front of me starving. Am I really concerned about them? Or am I just going to walk away? No, if I'm really concerned and they're right in front of me and they're starving, man, we'll make it work. You know, cut up the sandwich and eat together, which is what we would have to see if the president or previous president did. I don't know. But it's not, I don't know. I know he didn't. So let's go ahead and continue to see what goes on, and the fact that when we just allow the gates of hell to open up and let anyone and everyone come in, you know, without vetting them, without us being properly prepared to accept them, it's also wrong. So let's go ahead and see what else do we got to for this whole issue of deportation.
America has allowed gangs to enter our country.
The migrants that are coming, they're taking over every block right now.
The city of Chicago is going to go up in smoke, it's going to go up in flames.
Gangs in Chicago are angry over the influx of migrants and criminals in their city. They say money that should be going to the African-American community on the South Side is instead going to what they call non-citizens, and warn that turf wars between Chicago's gangs and groups like Venezuela's Tren de Aragua could see Chicago, quote, go up in flames.
As of right now, there are believed to be roughly 600 members of the Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua roaming around the United States. Tren de Aragua is a violent prison gang from Venezuela known for robberies, cold-blooded murders, sex trafficking, and prostitution. Also in the Big Apple, they've established gun smuggling rings in those migrant shelters, they've created snatch and grab moped gangs, and they've also engaged in sex trafficking along Roosevelt Avenue.
ICE officials have arrested a Peruvian gang leader who is wanted for 23 murders in his home country. In May, he was arrested by Border Patrol near Roma, Texas, then released into America. How does a criminal migrant with that kind of background fall through the cracks like this? And secondly, what are we going to do with him?
Tonight, the new warning from law enforcement that among the record number of migrants that have crossed into the U.S. are members of a Venezuelan street gang. In the past week, the NYPD says a suspected member of the Venezuelan gang shot 2 of its officers.
So we know that he entered the country illegally.
NBC News has learned the gang is suspected in criminal cases in at least 5 states. In one case, 3 Tren de Aragua gang members who crossed the border here in Texas in the last year threatened 2 Venezuelan women and said they would kill their family members if they did not cooperate in a sex trafficking ring, according to court documents. The NYPD's Assistant Chief Jason Savino tells us they often know very little about the gang members.
I've heard it referred to almost as a ghost criminal. Everything about that individual could potentially be misrepresented.
And why does that make them dangerous?
Because if you come here and we can't even track you, we're not even sure of who you are.
All of it adding to the growing questions about the vetting process at the border. Venezuela is one of several countries that will not share criminal records of its citizens with U.S. authorities doing migrant background checks.
So we can see from that footage that when you open the door to everyone and don't vet anyone, that's what's going to happen. People, the criminals of those countries are going to take advantage of that system. And that's why this situation is very difficult, because in a way we are at war. we're at war because we're trying to play cleanup from them allowing the doors to be open. So we have to take those situations very seriously. And as we see here, Venezuela, we're keep in mind, it's not just them. You have Mexico with their cartels. You have Salvador with their gangs of MS-13, MS-18. And then you have the other countries, Honduras and all of them too. They have the same gangs. And now we can add in there, that's a new one for the United States in particular, because it comes from Venezuela, is the Tren de Aragua, which is another gang. It's very dangerous and it's committing crimes on our streets, and we allowed them to come in. But let's take a look here and just pay attention to why it's a bigger issue, and to the example I gave earlier about just allowing the prisons to be open.
Congressman, we have a troubling report that Venezuela is emptying its prisons and sending their most dangerous criminals to the southern border. What's the source of this? What do you know about this report?
You know, Stuart, I've heard this for months now. It's not only Venezuela, it's other countries as well that have been sending their less desirables to our borders. We've seen it. We've seen Border Patrol catch 78 people on the terrorist watch list. It only took 19 terrorists from Saudi Arabia to kill almost 3,000 Americans. It's a powder keg waiting to happen. You're only going to see more of this. So while there's a lot of people fleeing desperate situations, looking for a better life, there's also these bad actors that I guarantee you nobody wants in their community. We have to stop that. Big part of that is securing our borders.
So, as you just saw, that there are reports that Venezuela, and there's many reports showing and indicating that Maduro, which is the dictator over there in Venezuela, he allowed for the prisons, he incentivized his prisoners to come to America. Basically, like, here's your chance of opportunity for freedom. You know, leave here, don't come back. We're going to go ahead and put you back and give you the life sentence you deserve. But go ahead and flee and roam the streets. And I mean, we're repeating history. Guys, there's a reason Scarface, do you remember the beginning of the movie when he's being interrogated and interviewed? That's what's happening. But that wasn't Venezuela. That was Fidel Castro. And we're going through the same issue of immigration. And we gotta love how great, you know, Tony Montana turned out in our streets, and what a great contribution he was. But let's go ahead and touch base a little bit on the history of what we just watched, because history did repeat itself with Maduro. Let's go ahead and see.
In the summer of 1980, approximately 125,000 people sailed from the port of Mariel in Cuba to Florida. As they're traveling, Fidel Castro announces that he had opened the jails, the prisons of Cuba, and many of those who were heading to the United States were criminals. This caused so much commotion. And even though President Carter had said that he would welcome all Cubans who were fleeing with open arms, he quickly turned. At first, many Mariel Cubans were held in naval bases. President Reagan decided to use immigration detention, and immigration detention returned full force.
There you go. History is just repeating itself. You have Maduro and you have Castro. He's just repeating the same model that Castro did. And then what happens is, yes, we're going to get great people in our community. And now we have a lot of Cubans. And hey, they've done wonderful. Thank you, Pitbull. I'm just kidding. I know there's more than that. But the point is that these people are coming over, and if we found out that the majority of them are from their prisons being open, come on, is there some common sense out there? Are we just going to look at that and say, no, it's fine, you know, hey, we'll take a risk? I'm not going to take a risk. I have a son and a daughter and a wife, and I have plenty of other family members. I still have my mother, thank God, and I don't want to put them at risk. You know, once again, that's not Christian. You know, that's not godly. That's not a good steward of my resources or my family. And so I hope and pray that the government does put checks in place where they do vet these people. And unfortunately, we're having to deal with the aftermath, because the previous administration should have done this first, not afterwards. So here we are paying the consequences. So, but let's continue, because we touched bases on one thing, which was the financial aspect, the financial burden that the country has to sustain whenever they allow mass illegal immigration. Then we have this serious criminality from the street level, from horrible crimes and criminals. But there's one last aspect that we have to take a look at, and that has to do with not the gangster on the corner, not the drug dealer trying to sell, not the prostitute. Now we have to deal with national threats, terrorist attacks. So let's see if it's just Mexicans or Hispanics coming in.
Al-Qaeda 2.0, the upcoming attack on the United States and Europe unveiled. Common?
Yeah, but that's a step down. So
that was really
that's Taliban.
Why would you come from all across the world through the southern border of this country? I think the chances are that there's some bad intentions there for some of these people.
I don't know if you saw, but Scott Mann and I went and met with Governor DeSantis and briefed this to him.
It sounded like DeSantis actually took it very seriously.
He did. He, the next day, briefed the sheriffs, every sheriff in the state of Florida, and told them there's a potential threat.
There we go. So now we even got the Middle East coming in with their terrorist organizations. And if you notice, Governor DeSantis, they said it. He was not aware of this, and when he was made aware of it, boom, he reacted. So that was one terrorist group. Let's see if there's more.
See, when you say military age male, that makes me think that you believe they're coming here to invade and fight.
I think it's pretty obvious. And I think if you come down with your background, I'm not going to need to say a word. I'm just going to need to take the horse to water and be quiet and let you watch.
So are you saying that the Chinese are sending their people down to South America, they're going through the Darien Gap, up Central America, and that's how they're infiltrating into the U.S.?
So there's this one place, I'll wait for them to come walking out of the jungle. It's on the way to the China camp. They're all walking by. And I'll say, ni hao, that sort of thing. And they're making video, and this one guy got quite angry. And he's, like, turn that off. Get him calmed down. He's very angry. I'm guessing he was MSS, Ministry of State Security, their CIA. I'm just guessing, I don't know. I always go to libraries. I always go to museums. Always watch your enemy's information game. Some of it was kinetic, but mostly it was demographic, right? Mostly demographic warfare.
All right. We got, as far as our nations that are not coming here necessarily for the American dream, but we have terrorist groups, Taliban, ISIS, all from the Middle East. Then we have, and open the doors to our communist friends from communist China, and they've already expressed their feelings toward us and how they want to be the dominant world power and not us anymore. They wanted to go ahead and remove us from the platform, and they've been waiting years and planning for it. So here we are allowing them to infiltrate our American soil, and now let's see what else we got.
That all indications are that they have trained heavily in close quarters battle, local distributed attacks, and that there's a very good chance that the next thing we see on the homeland could be an October 7 style house to house, restaurant to restaurant, synagogue to chapel kind of attack on a massive scale.
This evening, we are also following this new security warning right here in the U.S. from the FBI and Homeland Security, warning of potential threats to public gatherings, the timing of this, and why they're concerned tonight.
As I look back over my career in law enforcement, I would be hard-pressed to think of a time where so many threats to our public safety and national security were so elevated all at once.
You people better start paying attention to what is going on, because this shit is going to happen.
All right. And one last thing. I don't know if anyone caught that, but he said October 7th. Let me just go ahead and throw that in here for you real quick.
October 7th, 2023. Hamas launches the worst attack Israel has ever faced, resulting in the deaths of over 1,200 Israeli citizens and injuring hundreds more. It's the world's third most fatal terrorist attack in history, with only 9/11 and the 2014 Tikrit attack in Iraq being more deadly. This wasn't a random attack by Hamas, it was a carefully coordinated and orchestrated event, with almost every detail planned down to the minute.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Is that something that we want to see on American soil? Is that something, is it Christian to bow down and allow for every form of evil and every form of pure insanity to just reign through our borders, all because in the name of niceness, kindness, purity, moralism. That's not moralism. That's it's like you're trying to practice moralism in a utopian form of thought. That's not going to work. We don't live in a utopia. We live in a place where there's serious threats at hand. There are gang members, as we see. There are terrorists, as we see. And does that mean every single person from those countries or those nations are those things? No. But it would be irresponsible for myself, for you, for an administration, for any government body to just be a free-for-all and allow these things to come into play. Then America would no longer be America. So we must really, really dig deep inside. And I understand the fact of deportation is going to affect many people, many good people. Many people will lose their homes. Many people will lose their friends. Many people will lose their family members. And many people are those people that are very close to us. I get that. But ladies and gentlemen, this is war. This is war. In war, do you not have civilian casualties? In war, don't we have a term that's called friendly fire? Because war is so messy. But in order to get that peace that you're looking for, unfortunately, until the day that Jesus returns and every tear is wiped away and all wars are done and finished and he establishes his throne and he is the King of Kings, we must understand something. Evil is evil, and the government bodies at play, we are asking them and we are demanding from them that they give us at least safety, they give us peace, and they protect our people. How do they do that? By defending and establishing the borders, vetting everyone that comes in, and making sure that you and I, the ones that live in this country, remain safe and can continue about our daily lives, not in a form in which we will be attacked, murdered, completely annihilated, obliterated, or moved on, or called not even America anymore. So I say this once again, deportation at this point in time, in the state in which we are living in all of the threats that we are seeing, it is not an act of evil, but it is a necessary moral duty for the country to establish and to help its citizens. And yes, it will get messy, and I pray that God helps us all through this process. It's going to be a very messy, dirty process, but I hope he helps us all. And guys, I'm not even just talking about the friendly immigrants. Let all the criminals, let all the terrorists, let all the enemies of America that are communists and coming from these countries that are just trying to abolish us, may they also repent and come to Christ. And may there be glorious and great testimonies to come from this. But at this point in time, what do I expect the government to do? The government cannot change hearts. The government can only check what you have done. And what you have done, what you sow, you must also reap. And I hate to say that because it sounds like, oh, he's just insensitive to everyone else. No, it's because I care for everyone here. And this is not a race issue. If you make it a race issue, that's on you. I care about humanity as a whole. Whether it's in China or the United States of America, or if it's in India, or if it's in Afghanistan. Now we're talking nation-wise, how to keep our citizens safe. If we cannot save the world, how can we at least keep the American citizens safe? And that is, I'm looking toward the U.S. government. If I was in El Salvador, I'd be looking to the Salvadoran government. If I was in Mexico, I'd be looking to the Mexican government. What are you going to do with all these atrocities or all these issues that our country's facing? X, Y, Z, pinpoint them, and how are you going to fix them? And in this case, this is our issue at hand. People are reaching for the American dream, but within those, not everyone is. Some are looking to destroy the American dream. Some are looking to destroy the American citizens. Some are looking to see the flag burn. And that is lawlessness. And lawlessness is not of God. So for everyone, from the one that came here looking to just feed their family, to the one that came here trying to kill everyone here, including their family, repent, come to Christ, and I hope that God helps all of us sort this out, because this will be a very messy and dirty time. But until the next one, you already know, stay focused.